The word Japa has become a household name, especially among young Nigerians home and abroad. As Nigeria experiences economic downturn, many have seen migration as the only way to have a better future. According to the United Nations, Nigeria had the highest number of international migrants from Africa between 2015 and 2022, with over 2.5 million people living in the country during that period. Now, some of the professionals include medical doctors, nurses, bankers, amongst others. While Nigeria navigates the slow growth into becoming a developed country, how can we stop the increasing rate of migration, and how can we ensure that many have hands-on skills to create a future for themselves? Joining us in the studio is the founder of T3, that's Touch Bearers Academy, Oluwatoyin Kudikum. Good morning.
It's good to Good morning. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, this matter of Japa, we always, is something that we've been talking about in recent times, even though we know that migration it's a natural phenomenon with humans as it is. But then when it comes to Nigeria, most of the young persons believe that pasture is greener out there than here. But sometimes we say when you water your grass, of course, it will definitely be
grow.
green and grow. But talk to us, because Nigeria has tried to come up with measures at trying to curb this young persons from leaving the country, but we haven't really gotten it right. Is it possible for us to stop them? And if we are talking about talents, what do we do? Because there are gaps as it is right now.
Exactly. So in terms of stopping them, I don't think that the focus should be on stopping them. Because like you mentioned, these are things that people do naturally, with or without the economic pressures and decisions to go and search for a future elsewhere. So my focus would be, what do we do? Because this is going to happen. It happened years ago, even in our parents' generation, and it's happening now. Years from now, it will happen again. So what do we do in the interim is where I'm focused on, which is why we're talking about the academy. I've been thinking for a number of years about why we keep on wanting to hire the same people all the time, and which is why when this Japa thing started en masse, it was very distressing for employers because the people that had the skills were leaving.
Right.
But this is a country where at least 60% of our population are youths, like we said. And even back before the Japa thing started, we'd always had a challenge with employability, not necessarily whether or not there were people available to employ. And that hasn't changed. So rather than continue to say people are leaving, talents are leaving, what are we doing with those who are still here?
Right.
Because people will still be here. Not everybody is going to go, which is where I turn my focus and say, look, talents are going to move, whether we like it or not. Thankfully, things like remote work has made things a little bit better because even if they go, they can still work here while they're located there. But there are so many people available. What do we do about those people? So why not start programs where we can make those people viable for the workplace of today in Nigeria? And that is why the Torchbearers Academy came about, because people are here and they need to know what they need to be able to function effectively in our workspaces of today. So let's teach them.
The emphasis on effectively.
Yes.
Because that's one critical thing that over the years have been lacking. Talking about productivity, being effective and all of that in delivering what is needed at the workplace. If we are talking about improving the skills, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so, you can't talk about skills or knowledge without education. Right. And we know there's a bit of a gap there as well that needs to be addressed. You can see that it has to be looked at from different points. Focusing on one without looking at the other is not going to solve the problem. So if we're talking about having people effective, is knowing what it takes to actually function in the workplace. I've had many a graduate come into one of the organizations I work with, and they can't speak proper English, for instance, or they don't know what it takes, what they have to include in their CVs to be able to present themselves as a viable candidate for the role you're advertising for. So the idea now is to teach them, look, if you're going to the workplace, this is what employers tend to look for. The other challenge I find is that when people leave the university, I mean, you and I'm sure you can remember university days and what you got up to while you were there. And I'm sure you were involved in different programs, different projects, different things. But somehow there's a difficulty translating that persona in the university to the workplace. And so I don't know whether it's societal pressure, I don't know whether it's the desire to conform, but people feel like I have to drop who I was in the university in order to be this person in the professional sphere. And I'm saying those things that made you who you were in university are very useful in the workplace. And you know what? You can teach us a few things. The workplaces have been the same way for a number of years. There's something that you know, you've seen coming from a fresh perspective, and I'm talking about the Gen Zs now, that can help us take another look at what we've considered the status quo as far as work is concerned. So that's what I'm saying, that you have skills you can use. You have abilities you can use. When you get to the workplace, we refine them for you. But don't hold back and think that you have to become a different kind of person because you're coming into the workplace.
And in talking about the workplace, are you looking at the white-collar job sort of a thing? Because, you mentioned the citadel of learning, the universities and, the like. You have people who go to school who perform better. They do well on paper, in theory, but when they come outside, it's another ball game entirely. So is there a disconnect, real disconnect between the town and the gown? As against some people who go to the university or who attended several schools, and when they come out, they do something differently, maybe like learning tailoring or all these things. So are you largely focused on the white-collar job? Okay,
not necessarily. So I'll answer this way. Right now, with the academy, we are looking at graduates for now. But going forward, we're going to be looking at people who necessarily do not fit in the academic sphere. It's not everyone who is going to have the opportunity or desire to go to school. So what do you do about those people? They have talents, they have abilities. We have vocational schools in Nigeria, and I know that there isn't a lot of emphasis on them, but we do have schools where people can learn how to cook. We have schools where people can learn how to become engineers, mechanical skills. We have schools where people can learn how to do many things that require apprenticeship, not necessarily the formal education in an institution. So firstly, we want to address those coming to the workplace because that's where the depletion is the most as at now. And then going forward, we want to be talking with vocational schools. How do we bridge the gap that some young man or woman who doesn't have the privilege of university education can come into your organization and learn a trade that they can use to become to be gainfully employed and don't be a drain on the society or be encouraged to look for other ways to make an income. Yes, because unemployment is just one issue. Right. Underemployment is another issue, and these are people that have more capacity than they are able to express because they're bent on survival. So it's also another angle that we need to look at as well. So it's not focused, T3 Touchbarrett Academy is not focused mainly towards white collar. We're also speaking with vocational schools to see how we can bridge that gap as well.
Okay, so from what you have just said, that you're speaking with vocational schools as well, means that you are looking to collaborate with institutions. That is what it is about.
Yes, it is. I don't know if I mentioned, so it's a sort of like a corporate social responsibility. Great. So we're not inviting people to pay for it. There is an application screening and vetting process, and that has to be very streamlined because we want people who come into the academy to value what it offers. It's not an opportunity to loaf around or to use the time unproductively. So we're big on the screening part of it. But what we now want to do is, okay, once we've looked at you and we see you have the desire and the drive to better yourself, how do we link you up with an institution that can help you do that? So we're having those conversations, and I can't speak of partnerships forged now as of now, but we are having those conversations and we're hoping to get that on the ground running as well.
So perhaps you need to expatiate on that because we're seeing the flyer on the screen, and some persons might want to get more information about T3 Academy, what it is about and what's the future for them when they become part of this academy? Afterwards, what happens?
Afterward, what happens is my vision, my hope is a person who has gone through the academy now goes for an interview and knows what to say that will get them that job. Will know what the employer is looking for. So we're not talking about gimmicks. It's you being confident in yourself and convicted that you have the abilities that will get you the job that you're after. So it's a training program to give you the know-how on how to navigate your way within the workplace, so that when you're going there, you're starting off from the beginning as someone of value, someone who is going to contribute meaningfully to the business, and not someone who wants to start learning all over again. Yes, obviously there's going to be some teaching and training to take place, but it won't be from a ground zero, so to speak. That's the goal.
Are you also concerned about those who would want to stay in Nigeria? Because you mentioned Gen Z, even Gen Alpha, already thinking they also want to leave the country because they believe that leaving the country means prosperity. You can't stay back in Nigeria and then you make it. So how are you looking to, because no matter what knowledge you try to transfer to these people, they will say, okay, give us the knowledge, we'll take it, or we'll apply it elsewhere. Are you concerned about whatever it is that you're learning on Nigerian soil, you have to, make use of it right here in Nigeria for the betterment of the country?
Well, I mean, there is the concern, but I mean, you can't stop people from making decisions that they believe is best for their lives or their careers. But what we're hoping to do is to give them...
see, the need for value orientation in this regard, because they believe no matter what I know, in Nigeria never happened to me. That's the prayer you see.
So the question I'm asking is, what are we, the generation before them, what are we telling them? What are we showing them? What are we modeling for them? I mean, I could decide I want to go as well. I can, go somewhere else. But I'm here because I believe that there's more in this country. And like you said, if you don't water your own grass, who's going to water it for you? Can you believe that people are looking for how to come to Nigeria to do business and to make good money? We have many people, I don't want to mention names or countries or races, who are in this Nigeria, who are prospering in this Nigeria and looking for how to come to Nigeria because they hear that, to the point that, I mean, we had a gentleman on the show, I think it was Wake Up Nigeria some time ago. We have people who are not Nigerians celebrating Nigeria for us.
And some prefer to be referred
They're telling the world about us. They're telling our stories.
So why are we finding it difficult to tell our own stories and celebrate ourselves? Why is it difficult for us?
Well, this is a personal opinion, really. I mean, but I think it's. I mean, we've gone through a lot,
right?
And I think we've been beaten and battered a little bit, and I think that to keep faith or hope for a better future and perspective, it has to be an intentional thing. Because once you step out of your house, there are many things that are telling you, don't even bother, But I mean, if you and I and different people, now I know I'm sounding philosophical, but there are people that believe in this country, and we have to show them the Nigeria of possibilities, not just the Nigeria of now. I think that's what we need to focus on.
Why are you largely concerned about we talked about integrity, resilience, dedication, and excellence, because you believe in character, that character matters just as much as the talent.
Yeah.
Because people will say, if you're coming to the table, if you want you to be, the leader, if you want you to take a lead or to be present somewhere, you have to, competence, capacity, and then they say character is very important. So,
certainly.
Do you feel that this is lacking among Nigerians?
I think that people need to be encouraged to bring out the better side of them. I think that if you're looking to do something that's bigger than yourself, and everybody wants to do that, unfortunately, there are many things in your environment that kind of kill that spirit. So it's maintaining that focus on what you want to achieve. It's not at all easy. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I do think that nobody comes out of the bat saying that, oh, I want to go through life. I don't care who I hurt. I don't care how I get it, as long as I get it. It starts from a good intention, and somewhere along the line, something changes. Like I said, it's important for us who are ahead of them, especially the youth, to model what we want them to see.
I'm wondering how that is going to be possible, because there are some schools that have as a motto, character and learning.
Many schools do.
Right, many schools. So and then you see students going to such schools, and then
Yeah.
they come back, they go as mommy, and then when they, just so to speak, and then when they come back, they become very tough. You know, some of them join bad gangs, cultism, etc. Do you not see this as a very tall order for your own academy to look into?
But there are many that don't as well.
Like me?
And I think because the bad is more,
Pronounced.
sensational or more pronounced, we tend to not focus as much on the good. Because where you have people who do that in schools, you have others that come through the university as well, relatively unscathed, who go forward to become upstanding members of the community. We have a number of them who are leading members of our society right now, who didn't succumb to the pressures of school, or maybe even if they did, at some point it turned over. So that's not the end of the story. Even if that's what they're doing now, there's a chance that things will change along the way, and they need people to believe that things can change for them along the way. And I guess that I'm willing to do that.
Interesting that you are willing to go this path, because I know that there are some persons who have tried to do something like this. I'm wondering what makes T3 different from every other academy that has talked about this whole thing, looking at the Japa syndrome, trying to encourage those who are, here, equip them with skills. We've had those conversations time and time again, but we are not seeing as much results. So what makes T3 different?
So the question is, are we seeing the result? Are we not seeing the results, or the results are not as pronounced as other results? So the question for me is, where are we looking? What do the media, or social media, all the time, what do they
amplifying?
Exactly. What are we amplifying? The gentleman I mentioned, the white gentleman, I forget his name now, who talks about Nigeria and our culture and whatnot.
Yes, yes.
That is one voice among many voices. And if more voices are speaking the negative, that's what we tend to believe. As of now, there are people that still believe Nigeria is a cesspool of insecurity. Like, you step over the threshold and you're going to immediately be in trouble. Others will come and say they don't know why they believe that, because they come to Nigeria, they have a good time, they do the rounds, and they leave and everything is fine.
But that's the long haul.
Exactly.
That's what some persons will say. They are not here for the long haul.
But there are people that have been here recently. I think last year, a couple of years ago, there were people who made Nigerian citizens who are not Nigerians. There are those that have been here for a long time. If there was no reason for them to be here, they wouldn't be here. So, like you see what's going on. The emphasis is what we are used to seeing, but there's another side of the story, and that's what I'm willing to tell.
Right, and that is what makes T3 different.
I'd like to think so. Yes.
and talking about bad narrative about our country, just like we started off, some Nigerians will still do not want to see anything good about Nigeria, especially maybe after the election or even before the election, that their candidates lost, and they're still bitter about the outcome of the election, and they believe that as long as the person who stole their mandate is there, Nigeria is never going to be good, and they're not going to say anything good about the country. How can we reorientate these kind of people? Because when they say go to America, go to UK, go to other countries, they are so good. We just read in the news 2 days ago of a Slovakia Prime Minister who was shot, in the midst of his guards, I think 4 times. He's battling for his life. Thank God he's, being, revived. In UK, you can be walking somebody, maybe because they don't have gun laws, but someone will come with a knife to stab you. The same thing in Australia. And you don't see them talking much about these things. In fact, before we didn't get this news, but thank God for social media, but we don't get to see this in Nigeria. So how can we orientate these people, our own people, our own, Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, and entirely Nigerian citizens, to see the good side of this country?
Well, I don't know if I have the silver bullet to that question, but I do know that what you tend to focus on is what's magnified in your viewpoint. If I look at your red tie, all I'm going to see is red. And I'm not going to notice many other things around.
You're not a politician. So.
But what I'm trying to say is that what we focus on is what tends to be magnified in our view. And these other countries, like you've mentioned, have a way of selling their own stories that don't give us the perspective that things are so bad there. But we've also heard the stories. I don't want to, denigrate any country or whatever. But it's not all rosy for even those who have left.
For any country, really.
It's not rosy. And if you speak to the citizens of those countries and you listen to what they say about their country, you wonder, is this the same country?
That's right.
That I got? No, for a Nigerian, just going somewhere where there's 24 hours light, I mean, things are better now, but back then, is enough. They're willing to enjoy everything else as long as this particular thing has been resolved. So you understand what I'm trying to say? But there are challenges there too, and the people who are there will speak to you of those challenges. I've heard Americans speak of America. I've had them before, and I say, is this the same America that my people are looking to go to? It's a question of perspective. It's simply a question of perspective. Does that mean Nigeria is perfect? No. But I'm also saying that everywhere else isn't perfect either. It's just what you're looking for. If that imperfect place has what you're looking for, then it's perfect for you.
Okay. All right, let's look at the academy now. When it's this, talk to us more about the structure of the whole thing, when it's going to begin, the process of getting in, and what they should expect, the kinds of training they should expect, and how long it's going to be for.
Okay, so it's an 8-week boot camp, and I know that 8 weeks is not long enough to teach you everything, but this is where we are starting from. We're starting with an orientation from the 19th, but people can still apply till the 21st. So if you go to the social media, you look for Oluwatoyin Podikon, my name, or Toyin Talks Talent, which is what T3 stands for. Oh. You'll see the flyers and the link to register and to join the academy. So when you register, you apply. So there's some writing that's involved. Tell us why you want to be the academy, what you want to do with it. So we screen your application. You're supposed to supply 2 referees as well. So that's part of the screening process. And then when you're accepted into the academy, we give an admissions letter, and then you are eligible to attend all the virtual sessions. We'll be talking about things like...
The sessions are virtual?
These ones are virtual. This particular cohort is a virtual session. We're not having anything physical until the very end. But this one is virtual, so it gives more people access to be able to join it. So we're going to be talking about things like how do you plan your career, for instance. How do you identify those talents and abilities that you have? And how do you translate that into the workplace to give you a viable career that can earn you a good income? We're going to talk about how to express your USP, your unique selling point in a CV. So when a recruiter is looking, they know what you're about and what you can offer the organization. We're going to talk to you about how to present yourself in an interview setting, how to combat those nerves that generally come around, and how to take cues from what the panel is asking you to answer the questions. We're also going to be talking about how to navigate around the workplace, what we call PQ, your political quotient, how to deal with politics in the workplace, which tends to happen.
Interesting.
How do you respond? How do you identify people who can be mentors to you, who can be coaches to you, who can be sponsors to you? What sort of things do you need to do to get in the attention of the right people? We're also going to be talking about things like leadership skills, emotional intelligence, which a lot of young people, are still building. And then we're actually also going to talk to them about monetizing their skills, identifying those skills that you have that you can use to make further income for yourself, because we know now we're all portfolio managers. I can be an HR person here, but I'm managing this and different streams of income. So we want it to be something that you can take away with you and you can start off something with, so that by the time that you get in the workplace proper, because it's mainly targeted towards early professionals and graduates, you'll know how to go about things. And of course, we're not just leaving them. Once you're in the academy, you're always part of the academy. So you always have recourse to reach out to the people who coached you, who taught you, ask a couple of questions. Some of them might be willing to offer you employment, because we are working on internships as well.
Great.
So we're able to do that. I think last year we were able to place some people in 1-month internships in organizations before they went back to school. That was during the ASU strike.
Right.
So we helped a couple of people at that point as well. So we're also looking to do the same this time around.
If you look at where the younger generation is also looking at currently, they're looking at how AI is revolutionizing, the industry or industries generally. Are you also looking to talk about this to the younger generation, talking about technology and the innovations that come with it?
Yes. So after the boot camp proper, we're going to be having some mini sessions, which will be training in some certain skills, like what you've mentioned, AI, data analytics, graphics as well, things that people can do to actually make an income. So we're going to be looking to do that as well. But this particular cohort is not all encompassing. We can't cover everything. So we're going to cover some aspects now, then subsequent cohorts will refine our topics to, be more aligned with the relevant trends of the day, so that we can equip the young people what they need to get out there and make something out there.
So talk to us, because as we inch towards the end of this conversation, what you intend to achieve with this in the workplace, not just for the people, but in the workplace as well, and also how important it is to have mentors, because a majority of persons still do not believe in mentorship.
Okay. The first question is, what I want to see in the workplace is young people who go into the workplace believing that there's a place for them there, that they don't have to be a cookie cutter individual that looks exactly like the person sitting next to them to be able to be relevant in the workplace. Organizations do have cultures, so we should be able to see characteristics in you and I if we work in the same place that are similar, but that does not mean that I am you or you are me. So I want young people to go into the workplace and think, okay, there's a space for me here. With my combination of talents and abilities, I can find a place to express them here in the workplace. That's what I want to see in the workplace. The second question you asked about mentorship in the workplace. Now, mentorship, I've always believed that when you have a mentor before, somebody changed my perspective about that rather recently, actually. I felt that it has to be a person, we have to have an appointment, they have to call me, talk to me about life and everything else, and then I'm listening, with rapt awe and awe. But do you know that there are people that you've never met? You probably read their books, or you follow them on social media, and they're mentors to you. You pattern certain aspects of your life after them. So mentorship doesn't have to be the one-on-one. One-on-one is great, but it doesn't have to be the one-on-one. So if you're looking for a mentor, you have an idea in your immediate future what you want it to look like. Look for somebody who is doing what you want to do and start from there. If you're able to meet them, fantastic, it's even better. But if you're not able to meet them, then follow them, see what they do, see how they cope with things. If they've written books, read the books they've written, and start your mentorship journey from there. Then as time goes on, as you refine and begin to know yourself better, then you'll know the sort of person they are willing to submit yourself under. Because mentorship is about submitting yourself under someone and allowing that person to not necessarily make decisions for you, but help guide your decisions. It's a very, very sacred relationship, and it's not just anyone that can be your mentor. So you need to be very careful who you choose to influence you, because that is going to reflect in who you are and how your character is developed going forward.
Right.
I'm not sure whether you've actually mentioned this. Those who want to, participate in this, where exactly should they go? And I see that you asked them to write about 250-word write-up.
Yes.
To show their interest in, their participation and all of that, and for their career path.
Yeah.
So could you talk to us about this, the dates, the process of application?
Okay, so if you follow Tony Talks Talent on social media, you'll get the details there. There's a link you can register at. I mentioned, actually, we're starting orientation on the 19th, where we start welcoming people, giving people time to join. Classes actually start on the 25th, where we're going to be talking about career planning. How do you plan a career? Then we have someone who's going to be talking about how to translate campus to career.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
unfortunately, our time is up.
Thank you so much.
We must thank you, Oluwatoyin Podikon, the founder of T3 Torchbearers Academy, for your time on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well done. All the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.